So it was a regular day, midweek. I had an early appointment out in Gainesville. And so I know that when you head out to Gainesville, you go out Route 29, and we've all driven that road probably many times, and you know you're gonna hit Wegmans on the left, and you're driving through, and all of a sudden, a building that I had seen many times just caught my attention in a very significant way. As soon as I passed it, I really felt in my heart, you need to turn around and go back and pull into that parking lot. And, you know, I thought for a minute, you know, is this really, and I thought, I gotta do it. And even if I'm late for my appointment, I'm gonna go back there. So I did a U-turn, went back, pulled into the parking lot, and then as I began to see the signs and I began to realize, it began to dawn on me where I was.
Back in 2012, the historically black church was intentionally burned down.
A young man who belonged to some type of hate group, and he threw a rock and set the church on fire.
I have a good friend that I have made. We were together at an event, and his name is Stevie Burke. He's one of the local pastors, African American, and we started a friendship that has continued, you know, to this day. Come to find out, Stevie Burke, that was the church he grew up in, and he's the one that unpacked the story. I had no idea about an area in Gainesville called the Settlement, which post-Civil War Reconstruction, several freed ex-black slaves purchased farmland and started a little community. And they started a church, and it was that church, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. And I knew it was old because I saw the cornerstone when I pulled in, 1877 it was established. So my friend Stevie introduced me to the pastor, Pastor George Carlisle. And we got together, the three of us. We met for lunch, and Pastor Carlisle began to break down for me that day, that night, the last 10 years and what it was like. How they got the call and went to the building and saw it on fire, and I couldn't imagine being him and showing up and your church is on fire.
10 years ago, we were victims of an arson. And afterwards, first year pastorate, and I said, wow, this is heartbreaking. You know, what do we do? And I thank God for the folks at Mount Pleasant, because it was their faith, their commitment to serving God, to serving people, that said, we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. And so that's what we did. We relocated to Glenkirk, and we've been serving ever since.
My name is Emma Nickens, and I've been coming to Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. I joined that church back in the year of 1970. And it was just so inviting, you know. And it just means life itself to me.
Good morning. I'm Deacon Henry Peterson. I'm the chairman of the Trustees Ministry here at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. After the fire, we learned that Mount Pleasant not only meant a lot to us, but to the Gainesville community as a whole. The community has come together. All our sisters and brothers of all faiths have come together to help us rebuild Mount Pleasant. The future for Mount Pleasant is quite bright. And then once again, when we get back to Mount Pleasant, it will shine a light to the neighborhood, showing other people that they can come back to Christ. And we look for a great future bringing those souls back to Christ.
Now, one thing we're not going to do is give up on God. We're not going to complain. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep serving.
Amen.
Because even in hardship, I've learned we serve an awesome God. Amen.
We serve an awesome God.
And our God is able.
Amen.
Our God is able.
Amen. They have a budget of $1.8 million to renovate, rebuild, and they're still a few $100,000 short. And when I walked into that building, he had his trustees there, and there was just this immediate connection. And they showed me their progress. They took me on a tour of the whole place. They've added on, they've done some other things. And it was there that I found out that that week that I was there with them, the following Wednesday was going to be the 10-year anniversary of the fire. And one of the trustees told me what it was like that night when they found out, and the church was up in flames. And so I just began to get more and more convinced. I've realized that this isn't just about helping rebuild a historic church, but it was to help revitalize a congregation, that had been just really hit. We had a moment where we were going to pray, and I knew it was going to get, we had this wonderful time of prayer. And, I knew that God had called Chapel Springs to come alongside this church. And I feel in my heart that there shouldn't be a year 11, but it needs to happen now. I've also reached out to some other pastors, and I'm still reaching out to some other pastors. And because I think it's important for this not to be a Chapel Springs thing, but for the larger family of God, the community of churches, together to get this church back worshiping in its building. I met the general contractor, and they're ready to finish. But there's $350,000 that needs to be raised. So in light of everything that we've been through as a nation, all the division, political divisions, racial division is so big, just so many things that have divided. It's always been my conviction that if there's any chance for any reconciliation, it's got to be the church, that we're the ones that have to lead the way. Could this be a God moment where we could come together and not make a statement for the press or, but make a statement to the demons of hell, It could be a really important moment to bring a lot of healing and to bring the community together.